He wears her royal crown at all times.
Now, I've been doing Henry VIII oldies because Henry VIII is now with us in the studio. Hello, Henry.
Hello.
Do we call you Harry?
just, you can get up now.
Nathaniel Parker is Henry VIII in Hilary Mantel's Man Booker prize-winning novels Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies. I haven't seen Bring Up the Bodies. I did see Wolf Hall last night, and it was completely fantastic from start to finish.
So glad you liked it.
It was brilliant. I was slightly nervous whether I was going to get there on time. I'm slightly nervous whether you're going to get there.
Oh, no, I will.
Tonight.
I've got my bicycle.
Is that that's the way it works? Because, boy, is it busy round about, chuck-out time. So it's what I never realised was how funny it is. I was obviously
Don't tell everybody.
Well, it's kind of a
no. It is. It's very funny because it's so fast as well. The stories are unusual. We all think we know the stories.
Yes, exactly right.
But Hilary's doing a version of this history that is so common to all of us from Cromwell's point of view. So it's Hilary's view of Cromwell's point of view of us, and because Cromwell is a slightly shady character. I totally admit that when I first thought of Cromwell, I thought of Oliver Cromwell.
Yes.
So I got my history wrong by about 100 years.
Yes, it's coming later.
Coming later. So we all know who Henry VIII is, or we think we do. He's this chicken bone sucking, thigh slapping, wench grabbing, angry man.
Vast in size.
In size.
Which apparently he didn't get obese till a lot later on in life.
Quite a lot later. I'm not going to tell you all of that because you haven't seen Bodies yet.
No, I haven't. I see.
Yes.
Bit of padding required.
In fact, it only starts about 2 or 3 weeks later, but I've got padding on suddenly.
Right, okay.
Because you have to make the jump somehow. But he's not that man. And what is wonderfully surprising is the honesty and the vulnerability you get with this Henry. And it's Hilary's version of it. It's but we only have historians' versions of what we know. So this is as valid as anybody else's.
There are many times where people go, oh, right, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And particularly, I was thinking halfway through it because Thomas More is in it.
Yes,
as well as Thomas Cromwell.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who has seen A Man for All Seasons will have thought, okay, Thomas More, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Paul Schofield. Wonderful.
Paul Schofield. And I can't remember when I saw it, but I saw it in the West a few years ago. Okay, I've got that. But the way in your play,
he's not the same.
He's a torturer and he's a vile
He's
specimen.
a vile man. I mean, you think of him, I certainly thought of him because you have the beautiful statue in Chelsea of Thomas More, Sir Thomas More, and you have a book he wrote called Utopia, which I don't know if you ever tried to read as a kid.
I haven't. No.
I did try. I mean, I didn't realise I was dyslexic at the time, but anyway, it made less sense than Ulysses to me. So
I can imagine.
But it was called Utopia, so you think it must be written by an amazing guy. Actually, it was a terrifying book, not good, and his mode of persuading people to believe what he believed was violent. Very violent.
So, you're Henry.
Yes.
We have the image of Henry from the later paintings, but he's a grand and powerful and good-looking man in his early years.
Yes,
which is clearly why.
Cast, yes, obviously. Thank you.
So when we see, I mean, it's great.
A little bit younger than me, I have to say.
So what year is it when we start?
Well, that's a good question. It's a sort of vague starting. The first book covers about 9 years. Wolf Hall, and Bring Up the Bodies covers about 7 months. So
1509?
No, we're talking, I think, the late teens.
Okay.
So, I'm bound to be beaten up for getting these dates wrong. I can see it now.
People are going to
laugh at me.
Encyclopedias out.
Yeah, but also when I get to work, they will be go, what? So you've got 9 years there, and it's him leaving Catherine to go to Anne Boleyn, to go to Jane Seymour, and how that happened, or how it didn't happen because of Wolsey, but Cromwell made it happen.
So I just want to talk about your clothes, first of all.
Oh, yes.
Splendidly, you're wearing a David Bowie 1972 T-shirt at the moment, and shorts.
Santa Monica, yes.
Wouldn't it be great if you were so late?
I had to go straight on stage.
Straight on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Henry VIII with a David Bowie T-shirt.
Yay.
Slight credibility. So you're, and the first time we see you, you're dancing. There's lots of dances go all the way through it. So explain what you're wearing for most of the...
The first dance you see us actually is quite a military dance. The first 2 bits of dancing you see are quite military dancing. And I think what's so clever about them is that you go in there and it shocks the audience. We sort of all come on stage at one time and you think, hello, what's going on? And we are telling you, this is what our director decided we should do, and brilliant director that he is, got it absolutely right. We're telling you that we're leading this night. You've got to follow us now. So what we do, you follow. And we start with a dance that is sort of imposing the feel of the era. And from there, we go into the the shade, the rain of London, where it apparently rained for nearly 4 years, something we still understand, I think. And the light and shade suddenly comes through, and you get a bit of laughter. And you see that people had to survive through this. They didn't just live on this awful island with lots of rain and hangings and beheadings. It was actually a lot of light and shade. I think the romance comes through too, hugely. I hope it does.
It's for Henry VIII, romance is slightly different to what romance means for everybody else. But you didn't describe your clothes, and this is
clothes. Sorry, I'm going to go back to my clothes.
Your gear.
All right, it's a red dress. Okay, is that what you want to say? It's a big red dress.
Not quite as big as Cardinal Wolsey, though.
No, he's wearing a proper red dress. Actually, in bodies you haven't seen, I finish off in the most spectacular silver dress. Which weighs about £40, and I've got a cloak on top of that, which weighs about another £30. So my knees are quaking and my back is aching, and at the end of the show I come out and do another little dance.
But there was one moment where I interviewed you many, many years ago for a movie you were in with Eddie Murphy.
Haunted Mansion.
And I remember I think we're halfway through the first half where Cranmer turns up on stage.
Yes,
and I was thinking, hang on a second. Didn't you play Thomas Cranmer once?
No,
Did
never
you
played
not?
Cranmer.
I was sure you played Thomas Cranmer.
No, I
check
played
this.
Charles II. Again.
I know you played Charles II. Right, I'm going to play another Henry VIII song, and then I'm going to prove to you that you played Thomas Cranmer.
Okay.
It was on television in Dangerous Games.
Ah, different. Oh, look, you see, I'm afraid that's printed word. That's the printed word, as opposed to...
Were you ever Thomas Cranmer?
Not the same person. Not the same person.
It says
this was a modern European thriller when I was actually shooting in the...
Someone called Thomas Cranmer. Just not that Thomas Cranmer.
Just not that one.
So was the Charles II the same Charles II? Anyway, Henry VIII Oldest has been a very, very useful theme for us today.
Good. Who have we got?
Do you remember China Crisis?
Oh, yes.
King in a Catholic Style?
Not on top. I am now.
Well, this is King in a Catholic Style, and this is quite profound, actually, because although you were the king and you were subversive and there's the Church of England and everything, you were still quite a Catholic king.
Oh, yeah, very. He was a very deeply religious man. I mean, we'll go on.
We'll play some China Crisis, and then we'll pick up on the theology in just a moment. I don't think this has got anything to do with Henry VIII, but King in a Catholic Style by China Crisis. Bring back any memories at all? No, absolutely none.
No, shut that bit of my life up.
Nick Mead on our blog, Clumsy Colin on Facebook, Nick Stewart on Twitter, King in a Catholic Style, China Crisis. More Henry VIII and Nathaniel Parker in just a second.
Music in the company of experts.
By going online to the Radio 2 website.
In an hour and 8 minutes, it's curtain up at the Aldwych Theatre in London. But it ain't going anywhere without Nathaniel Parker, who is Henry VIII in Wolf Hall. Simon saw both plays the other Saturday. Fantastic, atmospheric, very funny. We also saw Nathaniel on his way into the first play, and we should have said hello, but we didn't. We went to see Bring Up the Bodies recently. As I loved the books, was a little cautious about seeing the play. No need to have concerns. It was wonderful, brilliantly acted and funny. Totally swept along, as was my husband Kevin. Thank you for a great evening, says Judith. Seen both plays, Simon. They're great. Thank you to Nathaniel for being so lovely at the stage door on Saturday night. Carolyn York.
Well, they were great. They were a great audience, I have to say, Saturday night. It was lovely. And Hilary was in again. Hilary comes quite often.
So Hilary Mantel...
Dame Hilary Mantel. She comes in almost once a week and writes the most fabulous emails to us. Encouraging...
Give us an example.
Well, just encouraging and thoughtful and helpful, sometimes giving us details of what she thought about behind that detail in the script. When we first did it, when we first started rehearsing, she gave us a plan of what each character is like. I've never had that. I want that from every play I do from now on. Wow. I want the writer to tell us exactly what we should be doing. No, she's wonderful. So, a genius, I think. It's very rare one touches somebody like that in life, and she's been incredibly helpful. She did a marvellous thing one time, just before we opened. I was in full costume. It was the night before we opened, I think, and I was in full costume at the end of Bodies. As I said before, silver dress, big cloak on top, and a chain, crank cross. And I saw her and gave her a big hug. She came off with an imprint on her cheek from my chain and some of the jewels. And then the next day, for my opening night present, she gave me a little paragraph or two from the next book, Mirror in the Light, which takes Cromwell to his death, well, up to his death, and hopefully just a little bit beyond with Henry. And when he meets Anne of Cleves, he gives her a huge hug, almost sort of saying to everybody, look, you see, I'm really trying. And everyone's slightly fearful for her life, gets him away from her in the end. She goes, there we are. And she comes away and peels off with a big imprint of the chain on her face. So I'm in there.
Fantastic.
I was so thrilled about that.
What are Wednesdays like? Because you do both shows.
We do both shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I come out of the show at 5 o'clock after Wolf Hall bouncing. I mean, I am Tigger. I love it. It's so exciting, but I'm only halfway through. So I've got another 2.5 hours before you open the next one. And you need a good 45 minutes warming up there. So I have an hour bouncing around, and then it's like hitting a brick wall. Just useless to talk to. Crashed, yeah. Just go and lie down. But we have... I think we've decided now to do an extra month till the end of October. So we've got... there are still tickets there. I think what's quite fun is that everyone thinks it's sold out. Everyone says to me, oh, it's sold out, it's sold out. And all my friends phone me first and say, can you get us tickets? Can you get us tickets? Actually, there are still some seats there because we're not... I think people have this assumption that because we're sold out, actually, there are still some seats.
Well, it made all the precedent because it's a pair of shows and people saying, wow, this is the thing. And last night they were queuing for everyone's going to think, I can't possibly get anywhere near that.
No, but they can. They can. I mean, obviously, sometimes it's harder with a week or two ahead, but for into October and September, October, we've still got seats available and would love to sell them.
Even allowing for your natural enthusiasm.
Yes.
By the way, you're a very good salesman. This has been noted. Even allowing for your natural enthusiasm, it does feel as though you particularly, and you're speaking for the rest of the cast, feel as though you're involved in something quite special.
I have done from the moment we came together. I actually turned it down twice. I was doing the audience with Helen Mirren and playing Gordon Brown, which was great fun to do and quite a challenge, really. The producers, that was produced by 3 different groups of people, and one of them was doing this one, had the rights to this, and said, would I be interested? I said, no, I didn't want to do it. Didn't know more theatre for a while, thank you very much. And they came back and said, please. I said, no, not enough money, I can't do it, just family, just not enough time. And then they said, well, here, read the script and meet the director. So I read the script and thought, quite interesting. And I met the director, who's this man, Jeremy Herrin, who's about 6'4", slob. But the first thing I said to him, so how you can do this, Jeremy? It's like a film script. It's so cinematic. He said, I think just get the actors on and off as quickly as possible, really. And I didn't realise what he was saying was actually a mark of huge talent. He was absolutely right, doesn't he? I mean, that's exactly what happens. You get an actor finishing a scene, and then he turns round, somebody else joins him, and you're in a different location, different season, different year. It's brilliantly done. He's the best director in the world, I think. So we've all had an enormous amount of fun working with him from the word go. And he was also a bit of a comedian, stand-up comedian in his time at university.
I've got my eye on the clock, because I know that you absolutely do have to go.
Right, I've got people waving, yes.
You mentioned that you were dyslexic at the start of the... When you've got this amount...
Dyslexic, as I used to call it.
But you've got so much to learn for what...
I'm not badly dyslexic. I mean, and I've conquered a lot of it. I didn't realise I was at the time. But yes, you get into a rhythm of it. And once you believe you're the character, it doesn't matter what you're doing, where you're doing it.
Do you have a different way of learning to someone who isn't dyslexic?
I don't know. I've no idea. I don't know what they do. But I will... I have to make sure I believe the line. If I don't believe the line... And in this play, you heard Wolsey say it at the beginning of the play yesterday, where King Henry believes... everything he says as he says it, and that gives me the best liberty as an actor I've ever been given.
Well, it was absolutely terrific fun, and I'm looking forward to Bring Up the Bodies, but Wolf Hall was terrific. Nathaniel Parker, we appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. And I hope tonight's show is completely tipped up. And remember, you're not...
full of cast.
You need to change your clothes. Okay.
Thank you.
Bowie was not around in 1519.
He was in spirit.
Nathaniel, thanks very much indeed.
Need you, Mr. Ward Thomas. You just say,
Gilly Longton says, Simon, we went to see Nathaniel Parker and Ben Miles in Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies just a few days back. Packed house, top evening, laughter and tears, great performances. We decided it was like medieval history as written by the scriptwriters from EastEnders. And it's certainly true. It's got death, sex, religion, politics, torture, dismemberment. Oh, there's not a lot of that in EastEnders, is there? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Please thank you for an amazing evening. We were Hazel and Susie and Carrie and Gilly, all... the Elmsley Girls' School in Blackpool. Lots of memories of Miss Swift's history lessons. Although, frankly, we would have preferred Nathaniel teaching the class. No offence to Miss Swift.
Well, we all would.
Is that right?
We'd all like a lesson from Nathaniel.
Yes, well, he certainly was cutting a swathe through the staff.
He's very tall.
Very dashing.
And very dashing. The